Hello everyone, this is Seth Chandler and welcome to this episode of Slab Lab. This is a first. We are so excited to be able to share the great Harry Bass collection with all of our viewers. First off, just like to introduce the two folks who know everything about coins, including the Godfather here, Mr. John Dan Ruther. Say hello, John. You just say hi.
Hey.
Yeah, there you go. That's perfect, actually. And then we have Steve Feltner here, the Director of Education and the grading team leader here at PCGS.
Hey everybody, happy to be here.
Yeah, this is exciting. This has been in the works for probably a couple months is whenever we brought up the idea before we knew that this could happen. And really thankful to Heritage Auctions for allowing us to actually record videos about these coins and have fun of them and roll around of them. And also to our host at PCGS for allowing us to kind of get a deep look at the Harry Bass collection. Folks, this is a big deal. I mean, Harry Bass, this is one of the last great collections. I think that was raw for quite a while. It was predominantly assembled in the 60s and 70s and 80s. And Steve, since you're quite active with the A&A, why don't you share with all our viewers kind of how the collection was on loan there at the A&A Museum?
Yeah, absolutely. So the best of my knowledge, the collection was on loan for 20 years. With the option to extend, or the Bass Foundation could, have the option to take them back. They were deaccessioned and they are coming up for sale. I remember seeing these coins.
Deaccession, that's a fancy word. Can you kind of like dumb that down for me a little bit?
Yeah, basically, they were on loan to a national museum and they decided to,
sell them.
Yeah,
got it. Okay, and
exactly.
do you have any idea where the proceeds are going to go?
It's all going to go to the Bass Foundation.
Got it.
And so all of their different initiatives that they have, they're a really amazing foundation, a lot of educational initiatives.
Got it, okay.
And so they do really, really amazing work. So these coins, they will go to very great homes and the money is going to go to very awesome causes.
Got it.
So it's a really, really neat deal.
Okay, we definitely encourage everyone to go to the Harry Bass Foundation website to check out all the causes they support. Definitely a great charitable foundation.
Yeah, that's hbrf.org.
Okay, hbrf.org. So let's just start with you because you're the Godfather and you knew Harry Bass.
Yeah,
so what was he like? Was he a cool dude?
He really was. He was just a down-to-earth person. You'd never know that he was worth the amount of money he was worth. Who knows how much he was worth? But I got really lucky in 1982 at the Eliasberg sale. And I think Dave Bowers did it on purpose, but I sat next to Harry Bass for 2 days. And it's the only auction I've ever been to where they allowed a collector to bring his collection and compare his coins against the coins in the auction. And of course, everybody.
That's OG.
That's
really
OG
is.
for sure.
The Eliasberg collection, they tried to hide the name of it. They call it the United States Gold Coin Collection. But everybody that was there knew that it belonged to Louis Eliasberg, who had just recently passed away, and his two sons had inherited the collection. So the gold part of it was sold in October of 1982 by Bowers and Ruddy. And so so exciting sitting next to Harry Bass, and he had his coins with him. So he would show me coins, and I made a couple of discoveries there. He was a die variety collector.
Explain what a die variety
well,
is.
the early coins in the U.S. were all the dies were made by hand. So the head punch and the eagle punch were punched into the dies. Then the stars were added individually. The lettering on the back. The date was punched in singly.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah. Each die was very important, but each one was a handmade die, so every one of them were different. And so Harry got interested in die varieties, and so he bought all the early gold coins that he could buy and started collecting the different die varieties. For quarter eagles, he was able to complete all 29 varieties between 1796 and 1834. The half eagles, he had the most complete collection of die varieties. He had 133 of the 145 different varieties. And the eagles, he got 32 of the 33 varieties.
Wow.
So he loved that. And then not only did he collect them by die variety, he would buy the die states.
Yes.
And by die states, we mean when the dies were first used, they were fresh and in perfect condition. And then a lot of them cracked or clashed. Clashing is when the dies come together without a planchet. and part of the obverse die is imparted on the reverse and vice versa. So he was really into the die states. He owned.
He wanted to see the die crack progression,
Right.
which is
Yeah.
insane. And one of the really cool things that's always fascinated me, he was doing this even with the really, really rare stuff.
Right.
And so they were the types of coins where, you know, a collector would be completely thrilled to own one of them, and he had 3 or 4, you know, showing the different die progressions. And so this was all being done. I mean, he was basically pioneering that with early gold. A lot of that research is from Harry Bass and his work.
That's
right.
Absolutely incredible collection.
A true
it's always
numismatist.
well, yeah, and I mean,
Yeah.
I remember as a kid being, you know, 15, 16 years old, always going into the Bass collection at the A&A
Oh, yeah, it was on
and staring
display.
through the plate glass and just wishing that I could hold those coins.
Well,
You know,
ta-da!
well, yeah, exactly, and
Here they are.
actually looking at them and the state of preservation and how particular he was with how to collect it. I mean, you can tell that he was absolutely a student. It wasn't just, oh, okay, I have enough money to do this. It was, I want the right pieces, I want the right look, and I mean,
You did it.
he did it.
He did it.
It's phenomenal.
So what was he like as a person? Really nice guy. Like
Really
to
nice
share his
guy.
knowledge.
Yeah,
and-
down to earth. Very, you know, his knowledge was immense on early gold. And when I was asked in 2004 to write Harry's book, he always wanted to write the book. He didn't. He owned 634 early gold coins between 1795 and 1834. So the
So
die
can you please
varieties.
say that again to put that in context?
634 1795 to 1834
That is
gold
insane.
coins. And
I'd
so,
love to own one.
Yeah,
so,
yes. One
he,
or
he
two.
took notes on every coin. And so for me to write the book, I said, I need his notes. So one of his secretaries took all of his envelopes. Some of the coins had already been sold in 99 and 2000.
Sure.
The core collection, of course, like Steve said, was on display at the A&A. So they transcribed all of his notes and sent them to me. So I had his notes, and he might own 5 of one coin, of one die variety. You know, uncracked, light crack, heavy crack, clashed, you know, all of those things he recorded. So he looked at every coin, and I don't know whether you've ever seen I'm sure you've seen it, but the viewers probably haven't. He wore glasses, but he had his magnifiers on his glasses, and he had 2 magnifiers. One was a 1 power, and then if he flipped down the other one, you knew that he was really looking at something. You know, he had to look at the intricacies of that particular coin, and at the
That's the only picture that exists of him, I think. Because every time I see it, I'm like, wow.
Yeah,
no matter how good I think
that-
my coin game is,
Yeah.
when you have glasses and you have a little magnifier attached to that, and you have another one attached to that.
Did anybody ever see if Harry put down the larger one and then go, okay, I need to really look at that coin a little bit more?
Interestingly, in '82 at the Eliasberg sale, they had Eliasberg had an 1841 quarter eagle and an 1846 quarter eagle in proof, and I'd come up with a theory, just a theory that we knew that the half cents from 1840 to 49 all used one reverse.
Sure.
And they kept that reverse every year. The silver, that was discovered in the 1800s. In the 1920s or 30s, they discovered that silver dollars used the common reverse, 1840 to 1850. Well, I was like, what if they did it for other coins? So I obviously had that theory. So I started looking at the reverse of the 41. I looked at the reverse of 46, and I'm like looking for something common. And I said, "Ooh, I found something. I think it's the same reverse." And so I said, "Harry, look at this." And he flipped down one magnifier and looked at the 41, and looked at the 46, and then he flipped down the second one.
It's
and I
getting
went,
real, yeah.
Yeah,
It's getting serious.
I think
yeah.
I'm right. And he
yeah.
looked at me and he says, "You're right. They're the same reverse." So that started me writing or being interested. I was already interested, but in proof gold, proof silver,
Right.
and eventually through the Phil Kaufman collection, the Smithsonian collection, I was able to prove that all the silver coins and all the gold coins use common reverses, just like they did for the half cents and the silver dollars. The 2.5s, the 5s, and 10s all had common reverses in the 1840s. The half dimes, the dimes, the quarters,
Yeah.
the half dollars all used common reverses. I mean, that was something that
It's logical too.
Yeah.
it was logical, but nobody had ever. Breen had said, "Oh yeah, the 43 and the 44 quarter have the same reverse." But not only that, the 45, 46, 47 had the same reverse. So Phil Kaufman was a collector who virtually completed the 1837 to 1891 Liberty Seated in proof. And so I went out to Barry Stuffler's office in, I believe, 2001, and Phil said, "Sure, here's my coins." He brought in slab boxes with all of those coins,
So
and I
cool.
sat there for 4 or 5 hours and went, "Yep, the half dimes use the same reverse, the dimes use the same reverse." Harry, I'm sure, looked at stuff like that too, but he was more interested in those early coins.
Yeah, of course.
The early coins, and that's one of the things we're talking about. Also, at the 82 Elisburg sale, he played a joke on me.
Yeah, what did he do?
So the first day he had his $5 and $10, and I was looking at a $3 gold piece, an 1854D, and most 1854Ds have very weak denticles, or dentals I call them, but some people call them denticles, around the edge of the coin. And I said, "Yeah, I've been looking at these for years, looking for one with full dentals." And Harry goes, "Well, I've got one. I'll show it to you tomorrow."
Yeah.
So the next day he had his $3 gold pieces and his 2.5s, and so he pulls out and he hands over to me. He said, "Oh, here's that 54D," and he hands me a coin in BU, like 62 or 63, with no dentals.
All mushy.
All
They
mushy,
all
all,
come mushy.
all mushy,
No
because
fun.
they all come mushy. If you go up on CoinFacts and look at them, they all have the mushy dentals.
Yep.
And then I look over to the left, and he's over there snickering.
Yeah.
And then he hands me this coin.
Yes,
So
yes.
here it is. And
Okay.
in his collection, he had a much higher grade coin. He had like a 62 or 63. This is in a AU 58 holder. But
So I just want to be very clear with our viewers. A lot of collectors out there. In many cases, you'll have a coin that may be a higher graded coin. It may not have wear. In this case, it's an MS62, but it was very poorly struck, and that was factored into the grade. It was an MS62, an uncirculated coin, but yet here's a coin that's got a little bit of wear to it. This example right here, it's an AU58, but yet it's fully struck. And what they mean by the denticles is the reading around the perimeter of it. So some collectors like a coin could be lower graded, but it's fully struck and perhaps has better eye appeal than a higher graded coin. And that's part of the fascinating thing about coin collecting. We all kind of go down our own path and what we choose and what we like. And in this case, he had a higher graded coin with not a fancy strike. Then he had this. When I first saw this coin, I thought it was like an 1854P without the D.
That's- Yeah, that's incredible.
It's hard
Yeah.
to tell it's a D. Most of the
Yeah.
time you can tell a 54D from the obverse
Yeah.
because of the weak mushy dentals. This coin is not. And he played the trick on me and then showed me this coin.
Yeah, I've never seen anything like that on a 54D.
There's
That's
probably
incredible.
only a couple known.
Yeah.
It clashed.
Yeah, it's a cool reverse die
Yeah,
clash.
it heavily clashed, and maybe that's why they went in and polished the dies and messed up the dentals. Who knows?
So the
exactly
Dahlonega
what.
Mint has always been so charming to me because they made coins at the Dahlonega Mint in Georgia from 1838 to 1861. But this was the only coin, either the Dahlonega or Charlotte Mint, they made of the $3 gold denomination. So
That's
it's
right.
they only made 1,120 of these, and perhaps 75 are known. And this is clearly one of the finest, clearly the best one struck. So this is really, really exciting.
That's really cool.
Yeah, but Steve, aesthetically, like from a grading perspective, I mean, that's just unbelievable. I mean, without that little bit of wear, it would be a really nice choice for you, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, this is absolutely perfect for the grade. Just a little bit of wear. Still has good luster coming through. It has that really neat die clash that I always think is really, really cool. But yeah, I see exactly what John is saying about the dentals.
The dentals are full all the way around. It's really I'm sure this will be, all these coins have been photographed,
Sure.
so this
Oh,
will
yeah.
eventually be up on CoinFacts.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So that's awesome.
So, folks, I just want to reiterate how special this is. Not only were we able to talk to the Godfather and Steve just in general about the Harry Bass collection, but we're so incredibly fortunate to have the majority of the coins right here in front of us. So not only are we going to talk about them, we're going to talk about them when they're in hand. You're going to see, obviously, the true views and the videos, perhaps videos on the coins, but this makes all the difference in the world, the fact that we're able to talk about it. It's like we're collectors kind of sharing these great coins.
We're getting to see
so all
some
of you can
really,
understand
really
them.
cool coins.
All right, let's move up to the Big Daddy coin. All right, one of the rarest. I mean, you can't get rarer than this. It's the
It's hard to beat
1870.
unique.
Yeah, it's hard to
Well,
beat
now
unique.
wait a minute. It's not unique. There is another one in the cornerstone.
cornerstone.
But that's
Yeah.
in rumors, right?
No,
What's-
it's not. It's not a rumor.
Okay, so
we know we know it's true. There were 25,000 people that marched down on May 25th, 1870, when they laid the cornerstone, and there's a receipt for all the coins that were put into the cornerstone. So there was a half dime, a dime, a quarter, a $50, a silver dollar, a gold dollar, 2.5, a 3, a 5, a 10, and a 20 placed into the casket that's in the cornerstone, that's still in the cornerstone because the cornerstone is intact
Right.
on the mint in from 1870. That was laid, and there is an actual physical receipt. But during after the Civil War, paper money actually depreciated against gold, so the San Francisco Mint had to pay over face value to pay for the coins that went into there.
That's awesome.
So they're still in there.
Right.
You know, I mean, there's someday.
How much does it cost to rent a bulldozer for
Yeah.
All we
5
need
hours?
is like a jackhammer,
Yeah.
a couple Winter Coin U interns or something. You know, we could go.
that
I'm
they-
motivated.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're all motivated, but I believe that it would probably draw some attention.
Just a touch.
For us to go there and jackhammer the
during the middle of the
northeast
night.
cornerstone of the San Francisco Mint.
You know the graffiti artist Banksy?
Oh yeah, sure.
Okay, so he said if you wear a yellow vest and have orange cones, you can get away with anything.
well,
So if we
maybe-
were a yellow vest and orange cones in the street, we can get away with
I would
anything.
love
Yeah.
to tear into that cornerstone.
Just a memo to the FBI. We're just kind of kidding around. Okay, Or the
Yeah,
Secret
no,
Service.
we're not serious.
But folks, we have here really a unique in collectors' hands coins. It's one of the all-time great American gold rarities. It's the 1870 $3 gold coin made in the San Francisco Mint. This is a coin, guys, I've always dreamed about viewing since I've been a kid.
Yeah.
Mr. Bass acquired this coin out of the Louis Eliasberg collection in
Right.
1982. And you know, as the Godfather's about to explain, there's two known. Well, theoretically, one's in the cornerstone and the other is in our hand. So really, it's one available to collectors.
Yep.
And I mean, you're talking one for a U.S. mint gold coin. This is a big deal. I
So,
mean, a really big deal.
The Philadelphia Mint put all the mint marks in the dies to send to the branch mints. They forgot to put the S on this die. And there is a telegram saying it was perfectly legitimate or acceptable for your chief coiner, Mr. Harmstead, to carve the S. in
Really?
there.
Right.
So the S is a hand-cut mint mark into the die because they sent the die without the S.
When you look at the 55S, 56S,
Yeah,
57,
that's
it's
a
three.
punch- that's a
yeah,
punch
the
there.
S is 4 times the size.
Yeah, right.
You
This
know,
one was
really-
cut into the die by Harmstead, the
You did a
chief
good job.
coiner.
You did a
He
pretty
he
good
did
job.
a pretty
yeah.
good job.
This guy could carve a turkey too, I'm sure, pretty well. You know.
Well, he was the chief coiner, so he had experience, and this coin was given to his wife as a memento, and the 893 engraved on it. We always speculated it meant something, and recently
Feather River Gold, right?
it was a Feather River Gold assayed at 893. And in his memoirs, Harmstead mentions the fact that Feather River Gold assayed at the San Francisco Mint at 893. And Nancy Oliver and Richard Kelly are two researchers that did the research on that and found in his memoirs he mentioned that. So this coin was given to his wife, and it went down through the family. After she died, Harmstead left the mint and moved in with his, I believe it was his daughter and son-in-law. I might have that backwards. It might be his son and
Yeah.
daughter-in-law, but I think it was his daughter and his son-in-law. And his son-in-law was an insurance salesman, and after Harmstead died, they moved back east. This coin was offered in the 1906 numismatist by an insurance agent, not his son-in-law, but another one. And so they speculated, Nancy Oliver and Richard Kelly speculated, and the Van Camp man who put the ad in the numismatist in 1907 probably knew, and she was an insurance salesman, he probably knew Harmstead's son-in-law. Well, William Wooden bought the coin, saw the ad and bought the coin, and then obviously it traded hands a couple of times and ended up, Louis Eliasberg ended up buying it. And, and then when it sold in 1982, Harry was going to buy it.
Right.
I mean, there was no
So
question.
to be clear, when did Louis Eliasberg buy this coin? What year?
That's a good question.
Probably in the 40s sometime?
So William Wooden sold it, I believe, in his 1911 sale.
Okay.
So I believe it went to Virgil Brand. So Brand's collection was broken up in the 30s, and it sold privately to a dealer in the 1940s.
Okay.
I've forgotten the dealer's name. An obscure dealer, like from Kansas City or Omaha. I'd have to look it up to see exactly. I've got the book here. We could actually look it up.
Sure.
The exact pedigree if you want to know it. But Elisberg Stax set up a buy for him, and he bought a lot of coins through Stax in the 1940s and the 50s, and they contacted the dealer that bought it, and they arranged and they charged him 5% or whatever buyer's fee to acquire it from him. I believe he acquired it around 1944, 1945.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
I might be wrong about the date, but it was in the 1940s.
So it's had 2 owners the last 80 years.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
well, I mean, the Brand family, when Wooden bought it, it sold. He bought it in 1907, sold in 1911. Then Virgil Brand bought it. Then one of the Brand brothers, either Horace or Armin, sold it. I believe B.G. Johnson might have facilitated the sale, but another dealer. And then the dealer that bought it, put an ad for sale, and it was around $10,000 or $11,000 in the 1940s.
Yeah, I might be a little bit crossed. I can't remember if it was this coin or another. Wasn't this one that Eliasberg passed on the first time?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
He passed on
He
it.
passed on it.
And I was always shocked by that because it was like, it's a
Right.
unique coin.
You
You only
need-
have one shot.
You need
Yeah.
this coin.
And you need it to be able to put together the complete collection.
Right.
And then I believe he bought it a few years later for a higher amount. It was
correct.
It was
So here we'll H.T. Van Camp was the insurance guy, and he'd never sold a coin in his life, and so
He sold baked beans.
Yeah. So Wooden bought it. Then in the 1911 Wooden sale, it brought $1,450. Actually, I was wrong. It went to a dealer, to Chapman. Samuel Hudson Chapman. I thought it went to Virgil Brand. Then it went to Waldo Newcomer, another collector, and then he sold his coins on consignment. And it sold to Colonel Green, was in the Green estate, offered in 1944 by Hollenbeck Coin.
Okay.
That was Art Kagan.
Art Kagan.
He offered it to Elisberg, who passed it in 1945. Then it went to Salina Coin Company. That was Ted and Carl Brands, like I said, an obscure dealer, who advertised it in the December 1945 issue of the Numismatist. In January 46, Salina sold it to Stax for $11,000 as agent for Elisberg, who paid a 5% commission. To Elisberg. So that's how he got it. He did buy it in 1945.
But he paid several $1,000s
Yeah, he
more
passed at
after he had
8,500.
yeah,
Interesting,
he
yeah.
passed.
and it was always shocking to me that he
Wow.
passed on that.
Yeah, I mean it's
Yeah.
opportunity when you're talking about a unique in collector hands coins. The opportunity is more important sometimes than the price.
Right.
But I guess he thought 8,500 sounded high, but
Yeah.
then a couple of years, a year or two later, he paid 11,550
Sure,
or
sure.
11,500.
So Steve, why don't you walk us through how the grading room arrived to the conclusion of how they graded that particular coin?
I mean, this coin is absolutely special, as we've described.
Yeah.
It's one of those coins where it does have a couple of issues. You know, a little bit of a cleaning. It has the 893 engraved on it. But based on the historical significance, the rarity and everything, we decided, internally with JD's help and assistance, that this should have a numeric grade.
Right.
It absolutely made sense to give this a grade, and with it being a unique specimen, in collectors' hands, it just made sense to do it on this one.
I like the 893, and that's the pureness of
finest-
gold.
finest
of the finest of the gold.
Yeah, it's
So,
really
so
fascinating.
it's not really a coin struck for circulation, and it's not really a proof. So the graders decided to put SP, and SP stands for specimen in a lot of cases, but it also stands for special strike.
Got
The
it.
1965, 66, and 67 special mint sets and the 64s are called SPs.
Okay.
But SP has two meanings: specimen and special strike. So this was a specially struck coin, and the ones in the cornerstone, if we ever get them out, will be all labeled SPs.
Correct.
Do you think when this coin was struck, it looked like a 1870 Philadelphia mint? Like, do you think it was more reflective?
I think it probably, well, we've seen like the 55S quarters and the 55S halves that are called proofs.
Sure.
And the 54S 20 in the Smithsonian, they're not as proof as the Philadelphias. They have die polish, but almost all of them, the quarter and the half dollar have die polish, and the die polish is pretty prominent on those coins.
Yeah, they're very pronounced.
And the 54S 20 in the Smithsonian was the first coin struck and sent directly to I believe the Secretary of the Treasury in 1854. Well, if you look at the front, you'd say, yeah, it looks like a proof, but it doesn't look like the proofs from Philadelphia because they finished the dies a little bit differently than they did in Philadelphia.
Hence specimen.
Yeah,
Got
and
it.
so
Okay.
special strike is what that coin should be called.
Got it, okay.
Even though
Special strike.
even though we've called the 55S quarter and half dollar proofs, they really aren't proofs like the Philadelphias.
Right.
Yeah.
A special strike is really what they should be called.
Okay. That's
And when I write the silver book, that's what I'm going to call it.
okay. That's awesome. That's an incredible coin.
It's
I
insane.
can't believe we're holding it.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
this going back to the museum exhibit, this is one of probably like 5 or 6 coins that I would spend the most time staring at. And of course, it's reverse up because that's where you have the date and
the date,
the
yeah.
mint mark. But I remember vividly. I mean, I've stared at this coin through plate glass for hours and
Really?
hours. Oh yeah,
That's pretty cool.
The
Yeah.
ultra high relief, a couple of the patterns, some of the early, proof gold 5s
Right.
and stuff. Those were always the ones that I would get a feel of the entire exhibit every time I went through.
Yeah.
But there were 5 or 6 that I would just stand and stare at.
Got it.
This was one of them. So when I finally was able to hold this, it was one of those
Yeah, it's a thrill.
numismatic dreams coming
Right.
true.
Yeah.
I'd wanted to hold this coin since I was a kid.
Yeah, you know what's interesting? You think about, the context about the rarity, how it's such a special coin, but if you're a collector and you have the means to acquire coins like this, you think about the word opportunity.
Oh yeah.
I mean, 2 owners
Think
the last
think
80
about this.
years.
This coin,
you know?
this coin, and the 22.5 in
Yeah.
the Eliasberg sale
Yeah.
brought exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
And the 1822.5 just traded hands
Right.
at a substantial, at an 8-figure number.
Yeah.
So I mean,
It's really
it's
Or
high
good luck.
seven
Good
figure.
luck to the winning bidder.
Exactly.
It's an
Incredible,
ultimate coin.
incredible.
Whoever owns this and purchases it for their collectors, just congratulations. It's numismatic immortality.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, your name will be up there in the Hall of Fame of great numismatists.
One of my favorites.
Oh boy.